Mm-hmm. You're counting cans. Oh, it's not on shield. Good evening. I'd like to call this meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education to order for October 18th, 2021. Please know that the meeting is being televised on Spectrum and Greenlight Channel 22 and live streamed through the Wilson County Schools YouTube channel. The public can also view the meeting through the links on the Wilson County Schools Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages, and the Wilson County Schools website. Face coverings are required to be worn during the board meeting. Please make sure you are wearing a face mask. And if there is anyone who is in need of a face mask, some are located at the back of the room. Present this evening in the boardroom are Mr. Borkin, Mr. Breen, Mr. Mercer, Mrs. Mr. Mercer, Mrs. Barnes, Mrs. Boyette, and myself, Dr. Fitch, along with the administration, and Mrs. Powell is being live streamed, and we are on the Zoom platform. Members of the board, you have before you your agenda, and it now calls for the approval of the agenda. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Powell?
I move that we approve the agenda for the October 18th, 2021 meeting of the Wilson County Board of Education.
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Powell, seconded by Mr. Mercer, that we approve the agenda for the October 18th, 2021 meeting. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please record your vote. Mr. Borkin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
And myself, Dr. Fitch. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Members of the board and the audience, I'm going to ask Mrs. Barnes if she would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, to be followed by a moment of silence.
Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Members of the board, you have in your packets the minutes for September the 20th, 2021, our regular board meeting, and October the 6th, 2021, the special board meeting. What is your pleasure?
Madam Chair,
Mrs. Barnes?
I move that we approve the minutes of September 20, 2021, Wilson County Board of Education meeting, and the special call meeting of October 6, 2021.
Is there? It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mr. Boyette, that we approve the minutes of September 20th, 2021, and October the 6th, 2021. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please record your votes. Mr. Borkin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Next on the agenda is the chairman's report. Just a few points to make. First, I'd like to offer congratulations to the system for the awarding of a $4,000 literacy grant from the Dollar General Literacy Foundation as part of a $105,000 grant program focusing on youth literacy to North Carolina teachers, libraries, nonprofit groups. We're thankful to Dollar General Foundation for its generosity here in the community. Second, as we complete this first quarter of the year, it seems that we only just started, and yet we are now finished with our first grading period. and our teachers are preparing their grades for this period. We are thankful to our teachers, to our staff, to the administration for working to keep our schools safe during this time of a new normal. And we thank our students, their parents, and families for allowing us to be entrusted with the well-being of the students as we continue to keep face-to-face instruction at the forefront and minimize as much as possible any remote learning unless necessary. To the community, the day that we have long awaited, we will be having an official groundbreaking tomorrow on the Lee campus of the community college for our Watt Academy. It's been a long time in coming, and that groundbreaking is tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock. I look forward to seeing all of you there, if at all possible. And as a reminder, we're about to be faced with some interesting bedtime reading of the school improvement plans. That information is now available so that we can read those. Please remember that we will be acting on those plans at the November meeting. You have been given the information that will allow you access to those plans, and so you have a little time at leisure to read all or part of them at one sitting or spread it out. But we know that you will do an outstanding job of reading those improvement plans. And with that, I have finished my report and will turn it over to the superintendent for his report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members, and others. A couple pieces of information for the group and everyone else. The Wilson County Sheriff's Office has planned several days of training exercises at Stantonsburg Elementary. Today, the officers were at Stantonsburg the entire day because it was a teacher work day. Tomorrow and Wednesday, they will be there after school hours beginning at 4 until late in the evening. And during the training exercises, there will be numerous law enforcement vehicles and personnel at the school. We wanted everyone to be aware in case you heard about it and were concerned or saw the presence there and knew what was involved. We really appreciate all the support and cooperation and partnership we have with Wilson County Sheriff's Office. They do a great job of working with us and keeping our students and community safe. And we always try and work with them on these training protocols. So if you see that activity out there over the next couple of days, that's what that is at Stantonsburg Elementary School. So I'll reiterate what Dr. Fitch was saying about the groundbreaking tomorrow at on the Lee Technology campus of Wilson Community College. Well, we're looking forward to being out there tomorrow at 11 with many of our partners who are responsible for making all this possible and getting a chance to turn some dirt over. So Ms. Lynch and others have been busy planning and putting things together. It's supposed to be a nice day, and it'll be nice to have a chance to see. I was out there on site today, and from the road doesn't look like much, but when you walk up on it, there's a lot more that's been taking place, and so I think it'll be a great day, and it's really exciting for our whole community to see that start taking place. I did want to take a moment to recognize a really neat person that we had a chance to celebrate the other day. Jones Elementary's first grade teacher, Cynthia Ramirez. She was selected as our nominee for the North Carolina Center for the Advancement of Teaching, NCAT, as the Beginning Teacher of the Year award, and she was our nominee. Cynthia worked up here in the title and federal programs and worked her way through her training program and through school. So we knew her before. We knew that's when her dream was to be a teacher, and now she is a teacher. So getting a chance to visit her classroom to celebrate her was really special for me and for others. But this award recognizes teachers who have successfully completed their first year of teaching and show promise as excellent teachers and education leaders. NCAT will announce the regional finalists in December. In February, all the regional finalists will participate in the interview rounds, and the winner will be announced. We're really proud of Ms. Ramirez, and who's starting her second year of teaching. for being our district nominee, but it was really neat to go in her classroom and see her and catch her off guard, and have a chance to talk to her students. That has been her dream, and she is fabulous. And I mean, I think everybody got pushed to tears. She led the way, of course, and did that. We teased her, but congratulations to Cynthia and her accomplishments, and we wish her well as she goes to the next steps. October is National Principals Month, and I wanted to take a moment, privileged to thank and recognize our great principals who work every day for our students and staff in our schools. It really does make a difference having strong principals and caring principals in a school system, and we're lucky to have that here. I know I give them a hard time and tease them every chance I get, but it sure does make our jobs a lot easier, and I'm very proud of them and the work they do. And they do a lot of things that folks don't realize every day, and a lot of behind-the-scenes work, and this has been a very challenging time for them, along with everyone else, but they've really stepped up and done the extra. And I'm very proud of them, and I love them, and I just think that the work they do is important, and they should know that they're appreciated. So if you get a chance to tell them that in person, stop and tell them thanks when you see them at the car line and ball games. You know, they pretty much live at school at times. So taking that moment means a lot, but I'm very thankful they're here as part of our family, and I'm thankful for the work they do every day. So October is National Principals Month, and they'll try and squeeze some bacon out of us again this month, and we'll see how that goes. But we did recognize them this month at our monthly meeting, and had some time together. Two last tidbits. The Wilson County Health Department is in the process of planning another mass vaccination clinic for our students and staff. They want to wait until the vaccine is open to students under the age of 12. I think Dr. Williams talked a little bit about this earlier, which is anticipated to be sometime in November for the vaccine being available to those students under 12. Once that is available to those students, they will schedule a clinic date. They're looking at a Saturday, and time slots will be available by school. We would conduct the sign-up process as we did for the other clinics, and we'll keep in communication with the health department and keep you posted on when that clinic will be held. Just wanted you to be aware that was coming. And we're really, again, thankful for our partnership with the health department and Teresa Ell and her staff. They do a great job, and we're very lucky to be able to count on their support and guidance during this whole process. And finally, board members, just remember, and a reminder, we have a scheduled special board meeting on October 28th at 1 with ORED to begin the work on our redistricting process and looking at our school assignments. And that's with ORED to look at those scenarios and start that work and process for this coming year. Madam Chair, that's all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Members of the board, it is now the point of our agenda where the public has an opportunity to share its input with us. Each person is granted 3 minutes for his or her presentation. This portion of the meeting is for the board to hear matters of interest from the public. However, obscene or vulgar statements, personal attacks, and statements reasonably perceived to be disruptive or eminently threatening to the orderly operation of the meeting shall not be permitted. We have 6 persons who have signed up, and please know that at the end of the presentation to the board by the persons who have signed up, the board will make a determination as to how we are directed to proceed. So the first person who has signed up is Jerry Rivenbark regarding face coverings in the school.
It's the first time for me. Good evening, everyone. My name is Jerry Rivenbark. I'm a dad to 4 kids, 2 of whom which attend Wilson County schools. I'm here tonight to talk about the face covering policy for Wilson County schools, students and staff. I understand that the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services is using the ABC Science Collaborative to provide recommendations and research for deciding on masking in schools. What concerns me most is that the recommendations are not using the scientific method, excuse me, by not having a control group of unmasked students to compare to when reviewing cases and deaths, and that was echoed from this group during the last board meeting. Now, I know that COVID-19 has been a trying time for us all, and it's scary, and it really is. And I'm trying to be thoughtful, and everyone, y'all are doing a great job, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness. I have a first grade and kindergartner, and you're trying to do the right thing by the children that you protect and serve. And I'm a lifelong Luke Thomas Springfield Hunt kid myself. But I challenge you to stop letting the fear dictate us. Your decisions surrounding the face coverings policy, and start letting actual science lead the way forward. A 2021 study in the International Research Journal of Public Health studied the United States mask mandates and determined our findings do not support the hypothesis that greater public mask use decreases COVID-19 spread. As masks have been required in many settings, it is prudent to weigh potential benefits with harms. Unquote. They go on to say their conclusion that, quote, by obscuring nonverbal communication, masks interfere with social learning in children, unquote. This is especially important for kids like my son who has autism. He already struggles with social emotional learning and having his teacher and friends with masks on, social emotional learning and having his teacher and friends with their masks on, and it's further delaying him in his growth and picking up those skills naturally, the facial recognition things. The study also said, quote, prolonged mask use greater than 4 hours per day promotes facial alkalization and inadvertently encourages dehydration, which in turn can enhance barrier breakdown. I know this is just one, but this is my daughter. She's a kindergartner, and those are sores around her face. Directly, like she did not have them when she started kindergarten. She hadn't worn a mask in many months. And it increases the bacterial infection risk, obviously by the face, unquote, of which I can attest to by my daughter's face. She also had a bruised upper lip, which suggests the start of a lack of oxygen. At 85%, you start to get a purple lip. In May 2021, the CDC released a study citing that, quote, required mask use among students was not statistically significant compared to with schools where mask use is optional, unquote. The study does not seem to support masks. It does seem to support masks for teachers and staff prior to vaccines being available, but not students. The CDC reports as of October 14, 2021, that 513 children under the age of 18 have died with, quote, with COVID, unquote. That is out of 74 million children. And trust me, I never want to lose a child, but 74 million and 513, there's a big difference there. And, most appearing to have underlying conditions. This means there is a 0.0007% chance of healthy kids dying from this virus. We had 130 more pediatric deaths in the 2017, 2018 flu season alone, according to the CDC, than the last nearly 2 seasons of years of COVID. I ask you, who are we trying to protect? Those that have received the vaccine are protected. Those who have not are very aware of the risks. And as a COVID survivor myself in January, it is nothing to play with. You need to take it seriously. But if the studies say that masks don't work well in schools and may in fact be adversely affecting students and that children are not likely to die, why are we continuing to muzzle our children? I am not here to say that face covering policy should go away. Science may not support mask wearing, but it is our choice as parents to decide. I hope that with this additional information provided from true scientific studies, you will vote to modify your face covering policy to allow parents to choose what is best for your families. I thank y'all very much for your time.
Thank you. Next, Sue Glisson regarding books.
Hello.
Hello?
I'm Sue Glisson. I have 2 grandchildren in Wilson County Schools. And I am concerned about the books that Mark Robinson talked about. And one is George by Alex Gino. And it talks about removing the boys' privates to become a girl. It don't belong in our public schools. Another is genderqueer. It's just pornography. I mean, it should not be in the public schools. Out of Darkness by Ashley Perez. I don't even want to say what. You can Google that one. I don't want to say it out loud. And Lone Boy by Jonathan Evison. It is about pedophilia, like a 10-year-old with a real estate guy. And there's other references to pedophilia in it. Bestiality. It just don't belong in public schools. So I don't know if they're in your schools, but I would like to know, and I would like them to be removed if they are. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Guzman.
Good afternoon. My name is Susana Guzman, and I am 15 years old. I am a sophomore at Hunt High School. My dad is from Michoacan, Mexico, and my mom is from Mexico City, Mexico. They both came to this country to give me a better life. I am very proud of them and my culture. If I go to college, I will be the first generation in my family to go to college. I started my own student club at Hunt High School called Mi Casa. We meet regularly after school, and I am very thankful of the opportunity to learn from my peers and to be in a community with other Latinos. My Latinidad is something that I am very proud of, so I participated in a student-organized Spirit Week 2 weeks ago. I hope next year more people know about it and more people participate because our culture matters. Lastly, I noticed posters for Hispanic Heritage Month around Hunt High School, and I just wanted to say thank you and that I hope to see more of them in the future.
Thank you. Emery Lazo.
Good evening. My name is Emily Alessandra Lazo. My roots come from Reynosa, Mexico, and La Masica, Honduras. I am a 9th grader attending Wicca. First and foremost, I want to thank y'all for hearing me out on this topic. I would like to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month Spirit Week. A few weeks ago, a group of students across all 5 high schools coordinated a Hispanic and Heritage Month Spirit Week. It was student-led, and I hope next year Wilson County schools can organize a more structured Spirit Week. I am very proud to be a part of the Latinx community. I would also like to attend Johns Hopkins School of Medicine to become a neurosurgeon. I hope next year we will have more support from our schools and our administrators. Once again, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Flora Herrera Picasso.
Hello, everyone. I am Flor Herrera Picasso. I am the Executive Director of Casa Azul de Wilson, and just want to talk about Hispanic Heritage Month, which is from September 15th to October 15th. And I'm here today to share some good news. Our mayor, Mayor Carlton Stevens, will make a proclamation to acknowledge and celebrate the Latinx community of Wilson. This event will take place this Thursday on October 21st at 7 p.m. at City Council. And I wanted the Board of Directors, the Wilson County Schools administrators, and even staff and teachers to know about this historic event. In 2021, Wilson celebrates the Latinx community for their culture, their heritage, and their contributions to society. I invite all of you and the Latinx families of Wilson to spread the word and to attend this major moment in the beginning of our stories. The Latinx community of Wilson is no longer invisible. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Herrera.
Good afternoon. My name is Elizabeth Herrera, co-founder of Casa Azul de Wilson. First, I want to thank you all for your time. This past Friday, Dr. Wilson, Dr. King, Ms. Lynch, and Ms. May, and Rosario Ochoa, one of the board of directors of Casa Azul de Wilson, Flor Herrera Picasso, and myself met to discuss a relationship between Casa Azul de Wilson and Wilson County Schools. We are thankful for this opportunity to continue the conversation of a partnership and even more excited for future conversations. As today is the start of college application week, I am super excited to offer my support for the remainder of the week to the college advisors of Wilson. And lastly, I would like to extend an invitation to each and every one of y'all again to come to celebrate El Día de los Muertos with Casa Azul de Wilson October 30th at Wilson Arts Center from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Come learn about the importance of our heritage and why Casa Azul is so eager to celebrate loud and proud our culture right here in our home, Wilson. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Members of the board, you have heard the input from the public. Please let me know how you would like to have these individuals responded to. You can, one, direct the chairman to respond to the concerns and issues on behalf of the board. You can direct the administration to respond to the concern. You can refer the matter to a board committee. You can refer the matter to the administration, or you can place the matter of concern on the agenda for a future meeting. What is your preference, please?
I think it would be most appropriate if the administration responded to these concerns.
I agree.
Is that the consensus of the board?
Yay.
I'm in agreement.
All right.
I agree.
Thank you. Dr. Mills, we are going to ask you and the administration to please respond to each of the persons who have addressed the board this evening. Thank you so very much. We are now at committee reports, first of which is Administrative Services Committee. Mr. Mercer is chair of that, and I'll turn it over to you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. The Administrative Services Committee met this afternoon, and present were Dr. Mills, Ms. Amber Lynch, Dr. Fitch, Ms. Karen Miles, Ms. Beverly Boyette, Dr. Wilson, Mr. Blake Boykin, Dr. Williams, Mr. Mark Letchworth, and Mr. Breen, and remotely, Ms. Deborah Powell.
And Dr. Fitch.
Pardon me?
And Dr. Fitch.
And Dr. Fitch. I had it down here, did I not say it?
I didn't,
I
unless I
apologize.
misheard, no
You
problem.
were there by all means. We discussed one information item, 3 action items, and the information items was an update on our Wilson County Schools COVID-19. Would you kind of cover that?
Yes,
You
sir.
can do it the full thing or abbreviate it, because you did it real well and quickly.
Yes, sir. Thanks, sir. Madam Chair, members of the board, updates for the October board meeting for COVID-19. Just drew reference and attention again to our COVID information website. That page is located on the Wilson County Schools website and has information regarding COVID-19 to include the dashboard and other pertinent information regarding COVID-19. I would also include information about our diagnostic testing information with the WASH clinics. Also, from the September 20th, 2021 board meeting, at that point, we reported out the active COVID cases and total contacts in Wilson County Schools. At that time, there were 12 staff cases and 123 student cases, for a total of 48 staff contacts and 1,104 student contacts. For today, the update would be on the dashboard. We have 3 staff cases and 16 student cases, with no staff contacts and with 43 student contacts. And going back to the September 20th data, I don't remember which one I read. I may have read the total cases, but for the 20th of September, the total contacts were 11 staff and 380 students. And for today, that would be no staff active contacts and 43 student contacts. Ms. Teresa Ellen from the Health Department shared current data in regards to Wilson County and COVID statistics, COVID-19 statistics for the county. On the 20th of September, we reported that the average cases for the last 7 days were 33. The percent of tests that were positive was 11.4%. The percent of population that had received at least one dose of vaccine was 47%, and she shared that the percent of the population at that time that were fully vaccinated was 43%. Today, the information that she shared from the Health Department regarding Wilson County is that the average cases per day for the last 7 days was 13. The percent of tests that were positive were 5.1%. The percent of population that had at least one dose of vaccine was 50%, and the percent of population that were fully vaccinated was 46%. And again, would make note that the population with one dose of vaccine and the percentage of population that are fully vaccinated, those are two different statistics. They are not added together for a total. Ms. Ellen also shared information that based on the data, there appears to be a downward trend with the current Delta surge. She also shared that the FDA is expected to meet and approve the Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11-year-olds on October the 26th, and that CDC will meet the first week of November to give their approval and clinical guidance. And lastly, Ms. Ellen shared that the Health Department is planning a vaccination event for November 13th, 2021 for 5 to 11-year-olds if all approvals have been received by that time. We did make note that there was one update to the DHHS toolkit, and that was on October 5th, which I'll mention in just a moment. The face covering requirements still include all students, staff, and guests on campus in K-12 schools that are indoors. So again, it's indoors, K-12, staff, students, and guests to campus. This also includes transportation, which is buses, activity buses, and driver's education cars. The exemptions for the face coverings is still on page 9 through 10 of the Strong Schools NC Public Health Toolkit, K-12. The guidance in regards to handling COVID-19 cases was the same, with the exception of one update. This update, as I mentioned previously, was on October the 5th, 2021 to the toolkit. In this update, students and staff who are fully vaccinated after close contact in a classroom or school setting, if masks were worn appropriately and consistently by both the person with COVID-19 and the potentially exposed person, do not have to quarantine. The change from last board meeting to this board meeting with the October 5th update to the toolkit is the addition of staff in this particular piece of the protocol, meaning that if staff and students all masked in the classroom, previously it was students that would not have to quarantine, and now that includes staff as well, that they would not have to quarantine either. Again, just make note that we do coordinate with the Wilson County Health Department on quarantines and COVID-19 guidance, and that the toolkit guidance for quarantine is found on pages 14 through 18 of the toolkit. And we reported out on classroom school closures and athletic quarantines. We currently have none of our K-12 classes or any of the schools that are in remote instruction. However, due to a positive case at our Hunt Daycare, we do have a daycare that is operated within the school system who is currently quarantined, and we have no athletic teams under quarantine at this time. And that was the COVID-19 report for this month.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
Any comments or anyone like to make a
I
regard?
would like to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, it looks like right now we're at altogether 62 staff and students that are in quarantine as of today. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That would be 43 students that are contacts with the 16 that are positive, and then the 3 of the staff that are positive. Yes, sir.
So we've got 62 staff and students in quarantine, And just yesterday, I was talking with a member of our community, and just for comparison, I went and looked at one of our neighboring or nearby counties. At their dashboard, they made masks optional. And currently, they have 2,485 students and staff in quarantine currently. So for us to be at 62 and them to be at 2,485, I mean, I think that goes a long way to saying why we're holding masks in place. And it is to me, it's mainly because of the toolkit that the state's providing to us. I think that this 62 number would be much higher right now for us if we did not have masks mandated.
Yes, sir. And also to that point, Mr. Forkin, I would also like to share that, just grateful to our staff members too, our teachers, our principals, assistant principals, bus drivers, everyone who has been, vigilant on protocols and just making sure that they're taking care of the health and safety of our students in the schools.
Thank you. And also, our health department's been most helpful with guidance and support.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else have a comment or question regarding? Hearing none, let's move to the action items for our that came through our Administrative Services Committee. And the first item is regarding face coverings. We had a resolution last month that spoke to a group of whereases and then the that's that dealt with our thinkings and so forth regarding face coverings. Each of you have a copy of that in front of you. I think that was approved last at board meeting. Does anyone wish to hear all of that read? Would anybody have any comments regarding the resolution?
I think that this is in keeping with the mandate given to us by the legislature and with the direction given by legal counsel at the last meeting in relation to us having to take a vote on face coverings at each meeting, that this resolution addresses the mandate that we have been given to take action on this issue, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Cornetta.
The resolution addresses the mandate, but you all should vote
Mm-hmm.
to
On
determine.
the resolution.
Yes,
Certainly.
absolutely.
You're exactly right.
Yes.
That's the point we're arriving at. But for you, Ms. Cornella,
Yes.
to reapprove the same resolution would be adequate and proper, wouldn't it?
Just to make no changes to the resolution adopted would satisfy the law.
Okay.
If you all
Okay.
acted on a motion not to change the current status.
Okay.
Okay, any further comments or questions? Hearing none, on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move we continue required face mask and gather information to set goals, as was mentioned earlier today, to project when we might consider optional mask. In that, let me, because we didn't discuss that suggestion, but we were looking at what point would we, and Mr. Boyle can help me if I don't represent this correctly. We were looking at giving the public some ideas at what point, not time-wise, but circumstance-wise, I think, would we start considering, and it'd be more likely that we would approve a optional mask policy. Does that say it fairly well?
Yes, sir, just so that we have a defined set of goals that we're working towards, that the administration can help come up with.
Yes. So in essence, what we're, again, I'm moving that, on behalf of the committee, that we continue the face mask policy until next month, at which time administration will have information that they can gather to help us designate at what point we would consider an optional mask policy. Is that
That sounds good to me. I'll second it.
okay? Any discussion or questions? We're hearing none. Please, as you're called on, please vote. Excuse me.
You're recommending to the full board, and I'll restate the motion. I'm sorry, you hadn't turned it over to me yet, have you? I'm sorry. I was still in committee mode. I'm sorry. Sorta. All right.
You go right ahead. I'd like you to take care of this.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mr. Boykin, that we reaffirm the resolution regarding the mandating face coverings and direct the administration to present for consideration at the next meeting parameters for which we might consider considering moving to an optional face mask scenario. Now, is there any discussion? Hearing none.
Madam Chair.
Mrs. Powell?
Yes, just one quick question. So we're voting to continue with this resolution, and then we're also asking administration to look at some type of a process of when we will stop wearing the mask, or face coverings will not be.
That when it would be considered to be optional, not to.
Will it be optional?
Yes, to present us with information for consideration of moving from a mandated face mask to an optional choice.
Oh, okay. Because we're not sure when that's going to be, when it's going to happen.
Absolutely.
But in the event it does, we're putting something in place?
Yes.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Ms. Powell?
Ms. Powell?
Yes. Yes.
And I think that was defined more in the circumstance as it's presented to us and not a date.
Oh, okay. Okay. So just the circumstance when that will occur. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
When it could
All right. I was a little confused there for a few minutes about what was going on.
Okay, because we will still have to each month take action.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I understand that. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion? Hearing none, please respond to the motion. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer, the next item on your agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The second action item was the proposed capital projects for the years 2021, 2022. You have before you the recommendations of administration, which briefly they include the 5 tennis courts, Elm City, Middle, paving all parking lots and drives, 3 small activity buses, Lee Woodard fire alarm system, purchase 2 maintenance vehicles, purchase 1 vehicle for technology, painting at Wells, and purchase of a county car for from surplus for transportation, which totals $1 million.
All right.
Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move we approve the capital projects for the year 2021, 2022, as recommended by administration.
A second.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by both Mrs. Powell and Mrs. Barnes, that we approve the capital projects for 2021, 2022 as presented by the administration. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please record your vote. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Okay, our third action item is the lease agreement between Wilkes County Board of Education and Qualdrum Partners, which is the small lot that is leased from us for parking for their offices. In our discussion today, it was pointed out that the exhibit that they showed the map where it was colored in, where that was not very accurate. And so in approving, it was recommended that by the committee this be approved, but also that this map make sure that it represents the true boundaries that the lease is speaking to. Any other comments or questions from anyone? Hearing none, Madam Chair, I move on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee, I move we approve the lease agreement with Wilkes County Board of Education, between Wilkes County Board of Education and Qualdrum as recommended by administration with confirmation of the map and or its boundaries.
A second.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer with a triple second by Mrs. Barnes, Mrs. Powell, and Mr. Breen, that we approve the lease agreement between Wilson County Board of Ed and Qualdrum Partners of North Carolina as presented by the administration with the provision to make sure that the exhibit of the map is appropriate and adequate. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please record your vote. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Mr. Mercer?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our fourth and last action item is regarding contract requiring board approval, which is the one with Delange Landon Financial Services, which is an agreement to lease printers to be used in the print shop. It's $124,200, which are two really large printers that serves the entire county and system. Any discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, Madam Chair,
Yes.
I move that on behalf of the Administrative Services Committee that we approve the lease agreement with Delange Landon Finance Services for printers to be used in the print shop, as recommended by administration.
Second.
It has been moved by Mr. Mercer, seconded by Mrs. Barnes, that we approve the contract for Delag Landon Financial Services for lease agreement for printers with the school system print shop. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, Please record your vote. Mr. Borkin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
Myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously.
That completes our report, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mercer. This afternoon, next is the Instructional Services Committee. This afternoon, Instructional Services Committee met, and we had 2 items for information and 1 item for action. The first item is for notification, contracts with Tarboro Pediatric Psychology in order to have psychological and psychoeducational early childhood development evaluations at a cost not to exceed $80,000. You know that contracts that are less than $90,000 have been approved by the superintendent and does not require the approval of the board. The second is for Renaissance regarding STAR Math Data Integration Platform and Professional Services for our K-8 level for an amount of $64,903.50 as the staff have looked for one mechanism that would be useful across the K-8 area rather than having a K2, a 3-5, a 6-8, and STAR Math met that criteria for the system, and that program is recommended. And the third of the informational contracts is Flyleaf Publishing, which is for decodable books for grades K through 2 in our Title I schools at an amount of $80,617.22, and that is dealing with patterns in terms of the teaching of reading and the like. Are there any questions in regard to those 3 particular contracts? Hearing none. The next informational item was regarding overnight trips. It was brought to our attention that we have had requests for some overnight trips, and the administration is looking at parameters and protocols for those overnight trips being discussed as field trips are now being shared, and the teachers are now putting in those applications, and field trips to date have been for day trips, and so to set in place parameters for overnight trips, particularly in light of COVID and the situations that might occur. So that is informational, and the administration is going to be setting parameters for any trips that may come up for request. Any questions or comments? And now, Mr. Chair, since we're now at action, I'm going to turn the meeting over to you because there is a contract that will be presented for action.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got to find the correct. All right. Members of the board, our technology area is presenting to us 5 contracts in regard to equipment for the schools that do require approval because they are over the threshold of the $90,000 as required in board policy. USAT is for 50 routers for Wilson County School buses at the amount of $176,689.45. We know that in the pandemic situation where we were on remote last year, that there were areas where students had lack of connectivity. School buses will be outfitted so that if we are in that situation again, access to the connectivity excuse me, is available. Also for field trips that where students will be on the buses for an extended period of time, the students would have access to routers to allow them excuse me, to do work. We have a contract with Herrera for 2,250 touchscreen Lenovo Chromebooks to be used with students in K2 for $900,000. We have Herrera for 5,000 Chromebooks non-touch for students in grades 3 through 12 for $1,545,000. And Herrera, again, for 1,500 Lenovo laptops to be used for staff at a cost of $1,458,945. I didn't hear myself, so did I say $1,458,945?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Khajiit Verizon for 150 hotspots, including service, for $150,000. Now, this is a pre-approval for release of emergency connectivity funding through the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC. So given that information, and why we need so many Chromebooks, is we are reaching the end of the useful life of the Chromebooks that we have had, that the students have had access to. And so we're in that process of beginning to get the replacements for those Chromebooks. So, Mr. Vice Chair, on behalf of the Instructional Services Committee, I move that the 5 businesses, USAT, Herrera for 3 contracts, and Khajiit Verizon be approved pending funding through the FCC funds for Wilson County Schools.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded that the board approve the contracts, USAT, Transfer for 3, and Khajiit Verizon, stipulating or with the understanding when the funds are available. Any further discussion or questions? Hearing none, please vote as called on. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Ms. Powell?
Aye.
Ms. Barnes?
Aye.
Ms. Boyette?
Aye.
Dr. Fitch?
Aye.
And myself, aye, and it passes unanimously. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. Mrs. Barnes?
Madam Chair and Board,
Yes.
I move that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11 A1 and 6 and 115C-319 through 321 to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11 A and 1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20 U.S.C. 1232G to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and/or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A and A5, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Mrs. Barnes, seconded by Mr. Breen, that the Wilson County Board of Education go into closed session to consider confidential personnel matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and 6, and 115C-319 through 321, to consider confidential student matters as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A1 and North Carolina General Statutes 115C-402 and the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act 20, United States Code 1232G, to establish or give instructions concerning the Board of Education's negotiating position concerning a potential acquisition and/or lease of real property as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A5, and to consult with the Board of Education attorney and preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statutes 143-318.11A3. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, please record your vote. Mr. Boykin?
Aye.
Mr. Breen?
Aye.
Mr. Mercer?
Aye.
Mrs. Powell?
Aye.
Mrs. Barnes?
Aye.
Mrs. Boyette?
Aye.
And myself, Dr. Fitch, aye. Let the record reflect that the motion carries unanimously. We are adjourned to closed session.